everyone. Welcome to Daily Dictation. This is an interactive video that's an activity to help you practice and improve your English skills. In order to do that, I am going to listen, or you are going to listen to me say 5 sentences. As I say these 5 sentences, you will write them down on a piece of paper or type them into a blank document exactly how you hear them. This means that you're going to have to practice your listening skills and your writing skills. So you're going to be doing these 2 things at the same time. So as you write down each sentence, you are going to apply the correct spelling, grammar, punctuation, and capitalization for each word that you hear. All of the sentences are going to be on the topic of workplace decisions. And this is really helpful because if you're going to take an IELTS exam, you are going to have to do a listening part. This is for IELTS and many other proficiency exams. You're going to have to do a listening part where you only get one chance to listen to an audio, and you're going to have to take down detailed notes and rely on your spelling and grammar in English to take really accurate notes and use that to answer the questions that you're given. So this activity will help you get the skills for that. After I give you all of these sentences, then I'll give you the answers. Then I will tell you a little bit about some spelling tips to help you improve your spelling and apply these tips going forward. And I'm also going to tell you some of the grammar explanations so you can understand the grammar in each sentence a little bit more, and then understand the punctuation, capitalization rules, and things like that. These sentences are at a high intermediate level, so there is a lower level if you find it to be too tricky. After I tell you all of the sentence answers and go through the grammar and go through some spelling tips, I am going to give you a list of vocabulary words to help you expand on your vocabulary as well. So for daily dictation, in order to really get a good skill and develop the skill of writing things down using the appropriate language, making sure everything is accurate, you should practice every day. So for you, I have new sentences each weekday, new topics each week, and 2 English levels offered if you find this just to be a little bit too difficult. For the task itself, you will need a blank piece of paper and a pencil or a blank document that you can type into. 5 sentences will be read. Each sentence will be read 3 times and 1 more time at the end. You have to write down each sentence exactly how you hear it, so you will use your listening skills to do this. Try your best to apply the correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization as you write down each sentence. So on the screen here, you're going to see numbers 1 to 5. Each number represents a different sentence that I will read, and I'm going to start with sentence number 1. Number 1. The veto of the initial proposal led to a thorough risk assessment. The veto of the initial proposal led to a thorough risk assessment. The veto of the initial proposal led to a thorough risk assessment. Number 2. The project team faced the challenge in prioritization. The project team faced the challenge in prioritization. The project team faced a challenge in prioritization. Number 3. We had to consider multiple alternatives after receiving feedback about the initial design. We had to consider multiple alternatives after receiving feedback about the initial design. We had to consider multiple alternatives after receiving feedback about the initial design. Number 4. The optimization process was informed by various scenarios. The optimization process was informed by various scenarios. The optimization process was informed by various scenarios. Number 5. Although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction, some team members were still on the fence about the proposed changes. Although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction, some team members were still on the fence about the proposed changes. Although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction, some team members were still on the fence about the proposed changes. I'm going to read each sentence one more time, starting with sentence number 1. The veto of the initial proposal led to a thorough risk assessment. Number 2, the project team faced a challenge in prioritization. Number 3, we had to consider multiple alternatives after receiving feedback about the initial design. Number 4, the optimization process was informed by various scenarios. Number 5, although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction, some team members were still on the fence about the proposed changes. All right, I'm sure everybody did a really great job writing down these sentences. Now, if you found it to be a little bit fast or difficult, you can listen again. If it was too fast, when you listen again, you can adjust the playback speed in the settings of the videos by making it go slower. You can also check the description for timestamps. This will help you listen to specific sentence numbers again. If you feel like you got everything correct, let's get ready to check the answers. We're going to start with number 1. The veto of the initial proposal led to a thorough risk assessment. So, the veto of the initial proposal. This is the entire subject. So the veto is one noun, the initial proposal is another noun. The word of tells us this thing, or this thing is a part of this thing. Led is a verb in the past tense. To a thorough risk assessment. To is preposition here, and a risk assessment. Risk assessment is the noun, thorough is the adjective. Now for thorough, you're going to want to split it up into 2. Thorough. So make sure that you're splitting it up into 2. Thorough. And though you can say to yourself to remember, but this is just to make sure that you don't forget an O on either side of the R here. Because if you forget an O here, it's going to mean through, and the spelling's going to be wrong, the word choice is going to be wrong, and the grammar is going to be wrong. So make sure that you remember the O here and here if you want the word thorough. Don't get it mixed up with other words. Risk assessment is the noun. And of course, we did look at splitting up assessment before in order to ensure that our spelling is always correct, because there's 4 S's, which is a lot. And if you try to memorize the whole word, you're going to probably miss an S. So you want to split it up like this: 1 part, 2 parts, and 3 parts. So you can remember vowel SS, suffix MENT. Let's have a look at number 2. The project team faced a challenge in prioritization. The project team is the subject and it's singular. You're going to use the word faced, which is a verb, and it's in the simple past tense with the ED. Add challenge. Challenge is a noun. And it tells you more information by using preposition in prioritization. This is the process where the challenge is faced. And this is a process, and it's a noun, and we know that because it's TION. There's a lot of I's in this word, so this word, like we mentioned before, you will want to split it up. Pri, or, it, zation. However you want to split it up, because there's so many different parts, you can split it up into many different ways. I like to split it up into the way that I'm saying the syllables, so I can practice my syllable stress while I'm speaking as well, and make sure when I'm writing, my letter order is all correct. But whatever works the best for you, use that so you're spelling is obviously always accurate. It's a little bit different for each person. Number 3, we had to consider multiple alternatives after receiving feedback about the initial design. So we had to consider. We is a subject. Had is in the simple past tense. Now this is non-action verb in this case, and so we're followed by an infinitive here, which is to plus the base form of the verb. Multiple alternatives, so like many alternatives. Alternatives is a noun. We talked about splitting that up before, so you're going to split it up as alternatives. If you feel like that will help you with the spelling, usually it does. After receiving feedback about the initial design, so conjunction, after, receiving, gerund. Feedback is a noun. It's one thing, even though feed is one word and back is another word, it's actually one thing. It's a noun here, so we're going to make sure that we keep this word together. And that tells you more about what the initial design. Design is a hard word too, so you're going to want to split it up. The sign. So the sign. Sign is the same as spelled like sign on the road, stop sign. This is the same spelling. You really want to tell yourself S-I-G-N. Otherwise, what your brain might automatically do is make it into kind of a word that's in the progressive form, meaning that you're going to not write sign, you're going to write sing. Because this is a correct word also, but it's not correct for this. So your brain might automatically want to do that because that's going to look correct because a lot of words have that. So you have to really exercise your brain and say, no, it's not the sing, because that's what that would say, design. So you want sign here, S-I-G-N. So remember that, otherwise that will be wrong as well. Now going back to the conjunction here, it is in the middle of the sentence, so we don't need any commas. The optimization process was informed by various scenarios. So in this case, the optimization process, that is our subject, is our form of be, but we're using it in the past tense. And the optimization process is a singular subject, which is why we're using was and not were. Informed, we're using the past participle of this, making it into kind of an adjective. And it's telling us more. So by what? Various scenarios. So this preposition by is used to give us more information about the process behind being informed. Scenarios is a hard word to spell as well. Comes from the word seen. So you're going to want to remember that when you split up your word. Seen, nar, eos, like that. And that is plural. So scenario singular will just have no S. Okay. Last one. Although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction, some team members were still on the fence about the proposed changes. So for this one, we're starting with a conjunction, although there was a clear consensus on the project's direction. So here, this whole sentence, when we start with although, it's a dependent clause because this whole sentence wouldn't make sense by itself. And so this is a dependent. And we start with this conjunction, which tells us again, it's dependent. After a dependent clause, when we have the dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, we do need a comma when the clause is finished, which is why we have that there. We do need to remember this apostrophe because the direction belongs to the project. So that is why there's apostrophe S there to show the possessive. We did talk a lot before about spelling consensus. You're going to want to split it up into 3 parts as you say it by the syllable to remember the spelling of it. Con, S-C-O-N, sen, S-E-N, sus, S-U-S, because that helps you remember the spelling, because some people forget the S's or want to put C in the place of some S's. So make sure you don't do that and split it up into these 3 smaller parts to remember the letter order. Now, over here, some team members, this is our subject here. And it's plural because members has the S. So plural. That's why we're using were now, because the form of be should be plural because the subject is plural. Still on the fence. This is an idiom that we have been looking at. We're going to keep on the fence, all these words on the fence, all these small words together. They make one phrase. They have one meaning. It means undecided. It is an idiom and tells us more information about what the proposed change is. That is a noun. So that is a little bit about some of the ways to help with spelling, making sure that you're not making a word that's one word, two words, like feedback. It should be one word, but splitting up words into smaller pieces. So you remember the word order, like in assessment, prioritization, alternatives, consensus. Making sure that we're not forgetting any words when we're listening to an idiom, like on the fence. And just knowing the breakdown of the grammar behind it. What is the subject? Why do we need commas? And all of this. So hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer for you. You can see that there are some bold words. These are the vocabulary words that we're focusing on this week. So we're going to have a closer look at that. The vocabulary words to focus on are veto, consensus, on the fence, prioritization, feedback, alternatives, optimization, risk assessment, scenario, feasible. For these words, these are words that are relatively complex. So if you're able to know how they're used in sentence structures, able to use their different forms in responses, either by speaking or by writing, it shows that you have a really good range of vocabulary, which is really good if you are doing an exam, a speaking portion of an exam like IELTS, like TOEFL, like CELPIP. Because this shows the examiner that you have a good range of vocabulary, that you have a complex range of vocabulary, which will get you a higher band score if you use these words correctly. Besides that, we are all finished for today. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on trying your best to practice your English. Keep on working at it, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.